This video is now in session, and yesterday the Canadian federal election occurred where there were 5 major candidates, and ultimately, nothing really changed from last time. There were a few gains in seats. No party actually decreased in seats, so you could say that technically is a win. But as to how 5 parties were able to, or I guess 3 parties were able to gain seats, but no one was able to lose seats, well, some people actually did lose their seats, most notably the independents. The independents and the vacant seats, which total 6, are seen here with the +3, +2, +1. That is a total of 6, so that makes sense. But practically, we've seen the same election result as last time. If we look at 2019, you can see here that turnout was around 67%, and that Justin Trudeau lost the popular vote by around 1.22%. Here, here compared to the last election, the turnout was lower because we're seeing a lower amount of votes for the Liberal and the Conservative Party. But here you can see the deficit is even greater at 1.8% that separate the two parties. So first of all, how is the Liberal Party still able to get more seats than the Conservatives with a smaller vote margin? It's basically because of how this system works. It's somewhat similar to the United States, but it's a first past the post system, meaning whoever gets a majority gets through automatically, and then it keeps tallying up from there. So you can see here that the Conservative vote is very saturated in the Saskatchewan area, the Saskatchewan, Calgary, and Edmonton area, and that's why, even though the Conservatives have a greater popular vote, they're not able to get as many seats. It's because compared to the Liberal Party, which has their vote evenly split throughout the country, the Conservative vote, the bulk of it is from these 2 provinces. So there are a lot of wasted votes from this area. But as to the winners and the losers of this election, Justin Trudeau, you can make the case that he's a winner and a loser, primarily because he's a winner because he didn't lose seats. But he's a loser because that wasn't his original point. His original point was to get a majority, and he failed to get that. And then for Aaron O'Toole, you could definitely say this is a loss because Aaron O'Toole was expected to gain seats. The Conservatives were expected to gain seats from the previous election. But we never thought that would have happened since the polls were so close to each other. Then at that point, it would just end up the same as the last election. But conservatives want something. At this point, they've not been in power for a very long time. Since 2015, they've lost their power, and the conservatives want something to change. And that's why you can see that throughout the years, the leadership has changed throughout every single year. 2015, it changes. 2019, it changes. 2021, it changes. Will we see another change in the next election? Most likely, because conservatives, the Conservative Party in Canada has shown to not have has shown that they have a short temper when it comes to their leaders actually getting results. And you can see here that this is not good enough for the Conservative Party. They want something closer to the number of seats that Justin Trudeau had. And then if we look at the other seats, the Bloc Quebecois, they neither win or lose. Their main goal is to get seats in the Quebec area, and that's exactly what they got. But it's a very minor change. So in some ways, you could cast them as a winner. For the New Democratic Party, though, today, or I guess not today, but the federal election for them was a bit of a miss, primarily because even though they gained one seat, they were expected to gain more seats. They were expected to take away some of the liberal seat, but they failed to do that. So because of that, they I guess you are a minor loser. And then finally, you have the Green Party. The Green Party is a loser because both the leader, Anna Paul, lost her election campaign in the Toronto Centre, but also the Green Party is just not big, and their goal is to get bigger, and that's not what happened in this election. In this election, they lost 4.3 percentage points compared to the last election, so they are a certain loser. But if you for the Canadian public, though, it's mainly a loss for the Canadian public because around $600 million was spent on this campaign, and it ultimately ended with the same result. So Justin Trudeau, he called this election, so the fact that it still stays the same, that nothing happens, is not a complete win for him. He has claimed victory, and he has claimed that this was a successful campaign, but it really hasn't been a successful campaign for him because the point of this campaign was to get a majority, but for Justin Trudeau, he didn't get a majority. He could have campaigned on saying we need a majority in order to enact our policies to better serve Canadians, instead of saying, well, the other parties are not doing that well. That's basically his campaigning strategy, and that didn't work out. But the fact that there is no change most likely means that Canadians want to continue this kind of government, want to continue a minority liberal government, because the thing with a minority government is that you're required to at least consult with one or two other parties when you're making legislation. So in this case, the Liberals would have to consult with the Bloc Québécois or the New Democratic Party. Either of them, pairing with either of them, gets them the seats that they need to enact legislation. But the fact that you have to go to another party means that some of your most extreme parts of your agenda will be tampered down to be a little more practical for the Bloc Québécois or the New Democratic Party. So that's what's happening with this election. There's not much that could be taken away from this, because the Liberals didn't gain that many seats, the Conservatives didn't gain any seats, the Bloc Québécois and the New Democratic Party gained just a couple, and then the Greens stayed at their position. So not much change. $600 million spent, and 5 weeks later it still ends up the same as last time. So that's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed it. This video is now adjourned, and I'll see you in the next one.